What I love most about being on the river is the way you go back to a much more natural sense of time. Time just kind of dissolves. I'm Gordon Johnston. I'm a professor of creative writing and English literature at Mercer, and I love to river kayak. My love for kayaking began when I was pretty young, growing up on farm ponds and fishing in rivers with my dad and that kind of thing. Started canoeing first when I was in college and just really enjoyed it. I get out on the water as often as I can. I paddle all year. I paddle even in December. I've kayaked all over Middle Georgia, really all over Georgia, and a part of Florida too. I've done all of the Flint River, I've done all of the Ocmulgee River, all of the Oconee, the Nodelly River in North Georgia, paddled a lot on the Amicalola, the Etowah, all over the Okefenokee Swamp. All of those rivers have meant a lot to me, and I keep going back. I say I've done them all, but you never really have the whole river because it's a different river every time you're out there on it. So I'll do a lot of day trips during the year, but I also do overnights, and I plan those well in advance, and I go with guys I know. We did all of the Altamaha River at the same time. We did a 4-night, 5-day trip, sleeping on sandbars every night. I'll take the kayak with me when I'm traveling, and if I see a really nice river, I'll put in there and paddle upstream a little bit and drift back down. You know, not even an hour, maybe 30 minutes on the water, but get to see a little bit of that water course. And I would like to do a sustained trip, do a river from its source all the way down to where it meets the Gulf. When I started paddling, I paddled with my wife several times. We canoed together, and she and I still go out in kayaks occasionally. I paddle a good bit with Mercer professors lately. Matt Harper, I paddled with Doug Thompson and Eric Odell. There's a group of 4 guys that I've paddled with for years, and most of those rivers I mentioned doing, I did with those guys. The way life is now, everything is kind of socially constructed, but on the water, on the river, all of that sort of melts away, and you deal with whatever the river doles out to you. And that can be a real challenge. It's really important before you get on the river to know how you're getting off the river, how far you're going. You want to make sure your gear is in great shape. You want to make sure you've got your PFD. Since I'm in a kayak, I tend to pack pretty light, but I'll have my tent, I'll have a sleeping bag, and naturally you pack everything that you're going to eat. It's really important to be prepared. It's important to have rain gear. It's pretty important to be prepared for cold weather. It's remarkable how a storm can change the temperature on a river, even in the deep south. But those challenges are often the most memorable parts of trips. You know, you get soaked and maybe you're a little uncomfortable on the river, but that becomes a story that you all share in and tell later, and that's really sweet. The river really strongly informs my work, especially my creative work. I've written a collection of stories, all of which are set on the Ocmulgee, all of which involve the river in some kind of major way. My first collection of poetry, Scaring the Bears, there are a number of poems in there about hiking along different rivers, about paddling on the Ocmulgee and the Oconee and the Altamaha. And I have another poetry collection coming out soon. The working title of that is Where Here is Hard to Say. And that title is a reference to the fact that when you're on the river, it's always a little difficult to say exactly where you are because you're always moving. You know, you're always in motion. One of the things that just inspires awe in me about the river is the fact that for 17,000 years there have been people living here along it, depending on it. I just love getting on the river and feeling that sense of history in the flow of the river, and really hoping that Ocmulgee Mounds will become a national park in the next few years. There are efforts to make that happen. If that does happen, the river would be protected from above Macon all the way down to Hawkinsville. There'd be a pretty incredible paddle trail there. Just really hope that comes about. What I love most about being on the river is the way you go back to a much more natural sense of time. The river has its own pace. You can't rush that pace. You can't fully stop on a river, and you can't really outrun the river. You just adjust. I have as neighbors and company the wildlife on the river. And I am just as subject to the river as the herons are, and the hawks and the otters that I occasionally see out there. When there's light, but the river's foggy and you're making no noise and you're just drifting down the river, you just see everything along the bank, all manner of animal life and bird life, and it is really tranquil feeling. And so as long as I have the strength to paddle, the God-given strength to paddle, I'm probably going to paddle.